High above Earth's atmosphere, the Zylaxian research vessel Quantum Seeker maintained its stealth orbit, its crystalline hull reflecting the pale blue glow of the planet below. Captain Vixera stood motionless, her iridescent scales shimming as she studied the holographic display before her. Her four-fingered hand traced patterns in the air, manipulating the image of a human settlement in the Siberian wilderness. "Impossible," she whispered, her secondary vocal cords vibrating with concern. "Run the analysis again, Chief Scientist Nex." The ship's chief scientist, a tall, willowy figure with geometric patterns etched into his exoskeleton, adjusted the quantum sensors for the 7th time. "The readings remain consistent, Captain. These humans are mining thorium with their bare hands. Their radiation exposure is off the charts, yet their cellular structure appears to be adapting." The bridge crew watched in fascination as the holographic display showed a group of humans working in what should have been a lethal environment. The miners laughed and joked as they handled radioactive materials with casual disregard for safety protocols that any civilized species would consider mandatory. "Look at their biological readings," Nex continued, his antennae twitching with excitement. "Their DNA is actively reconfiguring itself to resist the radiation damage. I've never seen anything like it. It defies every principle of evolutionary biology we know." Security Officer Krell, a bulky creature with armored plates covering his vital organs, growled in disbelief. "Perhaps our sensors are malfunctioning. No species can simply decide to become radiation resistant." "The sensors are functioning perfectly," replied Nex, slightly offended. "We're using the most advanced scanning technology in the known galaxy. These humans, they're different." Captain Vixera moved closer to the display, her scales shifting to a deeper blue as she concentrated. The humans had begun their lunch break, casually sitting on radioactive rocks while sharing what appeared to be fermented beverages. Their laughter echoed through the ship's audio sensors. "What's the radiation level in their immediate vicinity?" she asked. "Approximately 350 rems per hour," Nex replied. "Enough to cause severe radiation sickness in most species within minutes. Fatal exposure within hours." "And how long have they been working there?" "According to our temporal readings, 7 hours today. They do this daily." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. These humans weren't just surviving in an environment that should kill them. They were thriving in it. Their vital signs showed no distress, no fear, not even basic concern for their safety. "There's more," Nex added, his voice trembling with scientific excitement. "Watch this." The display shifted to show a different group of humans at another location. These ones were testing some kind of primitive rocket fuel, mixing chemicals that should never be combined. As the crew watched, one of the experiments went wrong, resulting in a massive explosion. The humans were thrown back, but instead of dying or showing signs of serious injury, they got up, dusted themselves off, and immediately began taking notes on what had happened. Their cellular repair rate increased by 300% during the explosion, Nex explained. "It's as if their bodies viewed the near-death experience as a challenge to overcome rather than a threat to avoid." Captain Vixera's scales shifted to a pale yellow, a sign of deep thought among her species. "Are they aware of their abilities? Do they understand what they're doing?" "That's the most fascinating part," Nex replied. "They seem completely unaware of how extraordinary their capabilities are. They treat these impossible feats as if they were perfectly normal." The display showed more scenes. Humans diving into frozen lakes for recreation, eating foods that contain natural toxins for pleasure, deliberately exposing themselves to extreme conditions for what they called scientific research. Security Officer Krell's armored plates rattled, a sign of agitation. "Captain, this species could pose a significant threat to galactic stability. If they can adapt to anything, they could survive anywhere." Vixera finished the thought. "They could thrive in environments we consider uninhabitable. And if they ever realize their true potential." The implications hung heavy in the recycled air of the bridge. The crew watched as the humans below continued their activities, blissfully unaware that they were defying the fundamental laws of biology that govern the rest of the galaxy's species. "We need to expand our observation," Captain Vixera decided. "Deploy the quantum probes. I want every major human settlement monitored. We need to understand the full extent of their capabilities before we make our report to the Galactic Council." As the crew rushed to comply with her orders, Vixera continued to watch the humans below. They had started singing now, their voices carrying through the ship's sensors as they celebrated another successful day of achieving the impossible. "What are you?" she whispered to the holographic images. "And what will you become when you finally understand what you are?" The humans, of course, couldn't hear her questions. They continued their work, their laughter, their reckless experiments with the impossible, while above them, the most advanced scanning technology in the galaxy struggled to make sense of a species that casually defied the laws of nature itself. 2 weeks into their observation mission, the Quantum Seekers' databanks were nearly overloaded with inexplicable human phenomena. Captain Vixera had called an emergency meeting of her senior staff, their gathered forms casting shifting shadows in the ship's bioluminescent lighting. The patterns were seemed to defy explanation. Chief Scientist next began, his exoskeleton now marked with stress fractures from countless hours analyzing data. Humans don't just adapt to hostile environments. They actively seek them out. The holographic display showed a research station in Antarctica, where humans deliberately exposed themselves to temperatures that would freeze most species solid. Instead of dying, they were playing something they called ice hockey. "Look at their metabolic readings," Nex continued, his antennae quivering. "Their bodies aren't just compensating for the cold, they're becoming more efficient at operating in it. Each exposure makes them stronger." Medical Officer Zira, a gelatinous being who communicated through patterns of bioluminescence, pulsed with confusion. "Their adaptation rate exceeds anything we've seen in controlled evolution experiments. It's as if their entire species evolved to evolve." The display shifted to a volcanic research site in Hawaii. Humans in primitive protective suits were collecting samples mere meters from active lava flows. The suits were clearly inadequate by galactic standards, yet the humans inside remained unharmed. "Their heat resistance is increasing with each expedition," Nex explained. "What should be lethal exposure is becoming routine. And look at this." The image changed to show a human settlement in the Mariana Trench. Humans had built structures to withstand pressures that should have crushed them instantly, and their bodies were adapting to the extreme conditions with each passing generation. Security Officer Krell slammed his armored fist on the conference table. "This goes beyond simple adaptation. They're colonizing environments we considered uninhabitable. If this continues, they'll be able to survive anywhere," Captain Vixera finished, her scales shifting through patterns of concern. "But that's not what worries me most. Show them the quantum readings, Nex." The chief scientist hesitated, his antennae drooping slightly. We discovered something disturbing, Captain. The human's adaptive abilities don't just work on a physical level. They're affecting quantum probability itself." The display showed a human testing facility, where scientists were working with experimental quantum technology. According to all known laws of physics, their crude attempts at quantum manipulation should have torn reality apart. Instead, probability itself seemed to bend around them, allowing their impossible experiments to succeed. "They're not just breaking our scanners," Nex continued. "They're breaking the fundamental laws of the universe, and they're doing it by accident." Medical Officer Zira's bioluminescence flashed in patterns of alarm. "How is this possible? No species should be able to influence quantum probability through sheer biological processes." "That's just it," Nex replied. "We don't think they're doing it through biological processes alone. Somehow, their consciousness, their sheer stubborn belief that they can achieve the impossible, is affecting reality at a quantum level." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humans weren't just adapting to their environment. They were making the environment adapt to them. "There's more," Captain Vixera said quietly. Show them the infection data. Nex manipulated the holographic controls, bringing up a new set of readings. We've detected something unprecedented. When humans spend extended periods with other species, those species begin showing similar adaptive capabilities. It's as if human adaptability is contagious. Security Officer Krell's armor plates rattled in alarm. Are you saying they can spread their reality-defying abilities to other species? Not directly, Nex clarified. But prolonged exposure to humans seems to awaken similar potential in other life forms. It's subtle, but the effect is measurable. The very presence of humans in an ecosystem appears to accelerate evolution itself. Captain Vixera rose from her seat, her scales now a deep purple of decision. We need to expand our investigation. Deploy the quantum probes to all human space colonies. I want to know if this effect becomes stronger when they're forced to adapt to truly alien environments. As the crew dispersed to carry out her orders, Vixera remained at the conference table, studying the holographic images of humans continuing their impossible feats. A group of them had now decided to build a settlement on Venus's upper atmosphere, using technology that should have failed catastrophically. Yet somehow, they were succeeding. They're not just adapting anymore, she murmured to herself. They're evolving into something the galaxy has never seen before, and they're taking everything around them along for the ride. In the holographic display, the humans continued their work, unaware that they were becoming something that defied the very laws of nature. Above them, the most advanced civilization in the galaxy watched with a mixture of fear and awe, wondering what humanity would become when they finally realized their true potential. And in the quantum realm, probability itself continued to bend around human consciousness, reshaping reality one impossible achievement at a time. The quantum seeker's central processing core erupted in a cascade of warnings. Banks of quantum computers, designed to analyze the most complex phenomena in the known universe, began shutting down one by one. Chief Scientist Nex's hands flew across control surfaces as he desperately tried to save 3 months of accumulated data. It's impossible, he muttered, his exoskeleton crackling with stress. The computers aren't malfunctioning. They're refusing to process the data. It's as if the information itself is contradicting fundamental mathematical principles. Captain Vixera burst onto the bridge, her scales flickering between alarm red and confusion green. Report. What's happening to our systems? The humans, Captain, Nex responded, his antennae practically tied in knots. They've done something that our computers can't quantify. Look at this. The remaining functional displays showed a human research facility deep beneath the Pacific Ocean. The humans had discovered a quantum anomaly, a tear in space-time itself, and rather than fleeing from it, they were actively studying it. But that wasn't what had crashed the ship's computers. They're not just studying it, Nex explained, his voice trembling. They're stabilizing it, using their own brainwaves. Somehow, their consciousness is affecting quantum stability at a fundamental level. Medical Officer Zira pulsed rapid patterns of disbelief through her gelatinous form. Consciousness cannot directly influence quantum states. It's a basic law of physics. Basic laws don't seem to apply to humans anymore. Security Officer Krell growled, his armor plates shifting nervously. Look at their cellular structure. The display zoomed in on a human researcher standing nearest to the quantum anomaly. Their DNA was doing something that should have been impossible. It was quantum entangling with the anomaly itself. Their genetic code is rewriting itself in real time, Nex explained, but not just in response to the environment. It's actively incorporating quantum principles we didn't even know could exist in biological systems. Our computers can't process it because it contradicts everything we know about both biology and quantum mechanics. Captain Vixera watched as more of the ship's systems began to fail. How many other research sites are showing similar phenomena? That's the problem, Captain, Nex replied. It's not just their research sites anymore. We're detecting quantum biological adaptation in every human population we're monitoring. The effect appears to be spreading exponentially. The remaining displays showed humans across the planet simultaneously developing impossible abilities. A group of miners in South Africa had accidentally discovered they could sense geological formations through quantum entanglement. Students at a university in Japan had inadvertently created a stable time loop while trying to improve their coffee maker. They're not even aware of what they're doing, Zira pulsed in amazement. Their bodies and minds are evolving past the boundaries of known physics, and they're treating it like a normal day at work. Suddenly, all remaining displays went dark. The ship's quantum core, the most advanced computing system in the galaxy, had completely shut down. In the emergency lighting, Captain Vixera's scales shifted to a deep, thoughtful blue. "We need to face the reality of our situation," she announced. "Our technology, the pinnacle of galactic achievement, cannot comprehend what humanity is becoming. We are no longer merely observing their adaptation. We are witnessing the emergence of something entirely new in the universe." Security Officer Krell's armor rattled with concern. "Captain, if we can't even measure or understand their capabilities, how can we possibly predict what they'll do next? They could be a threat to the entire galaxy, or they could be the key to its evolution." Nex interjected, his scientific curiosity overwhelming his fear. "Think about it. A species that can unconsciously manipulate quantum reality, that adapts not just to environments, but to the fundamental laws of physics themselves. The possibilities are endless." Captain Vixera raised a hand for silence. "We need to make a decision. Our mission parameters never accounted for a situation where our technology would be inadequate to the task of observation. We have three options: retreat and report our findings, continue observing with our limited functional systems, or—" She paused, her scales shifting to a color none of her crew had seen before, "or we make contact." The bridge erupted in shocked exclamations. Direct contact with an evolving species was strictly forbidden by galactic law. But as they argued, the displays that had managed to restart showed more humans casually breaking the laws of physics across the planet. A construction crew in Dubai had accidentally discovered how to manipulate gravitational fields while building a new tower. A group of children in Brazil had spontaneously developed the ability to perceive quantum superpositions while playing hide and seek. "Look at them," Vixera said softly. "They're not consciously trying to change the universe. They're just living in it, and the universe is changing to accommodate them. Perhaps it's time we stopped trying to understand them through our technology and started learning from them directly." As if in response to her words, the ship's quantum core suddenly reactivated. But something was different. The systems were operating in ways their designers had never intended, processing data in patterns that seemed to defy logic itself. "Captain," Nex called out, his antennae straight with shock. "The core, it's evolving. Just like them." In the silence that followed, the crew of the Quantum Seeker watched their most advanced technology begin to change, adapted by mere proximity to human quantum influence. Below them, humanity continued its oblivious ascension, reshaping reality one impossible achievement at a time. The galaxy would never be the same. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council had been ongoing for 3 standard cycles. Representatives from 1,000 civilizations gathered in the great quantum crystal chamber, their forms ranging from pure energy to complex crystalline structures. At the center of the chamber, Captain Vixera stood before them, her scales shifting through patterns of determination as she presented the Quantum Seeker's findings. "Distinguished members of the Council," she began, "what we have discovered on Earth requires us to reconsider everything we think we know about evolution, consciousness, and the fundamental nature of reality itself." The holographic displays around her showed scenes from their observation mission. Humans walking through quantum fire unscathed. Children unconsciously manipulating probability fields during playground games. Entire communities developing spontaneous quantum entanglement. "The humans aren't just adapting anymore," Vixera continued. "They're evolving into something that transcends our understanding of biology and physics, and the effect is spreading." Elder Kaisalith, a being of pure quantum energy, pulsed with concern. "What do you mean by spreading, Captain? Are they somehow influencing other species?" Vix-Era gestured, and new data streams appeared in the chamber. "Our ship's quantum core began evolving simply from processing data about them. The very act of observing humans appears to catalyze evolutionary acceleration in everything around them. Even space-time itself seems to bend to accommodate their impossible achievements." The chamber erupted in murmurs and quantum fluctuations of alarm. A crystalline elder from the Andromeda sector chimed in harmonics of distress. "This violates the fundamental laws of reality. No species should be able to affect quantum probability through mere conscious observation." And yet, Vix-Era replied, her scales shimmering, "The humans do exactly that. Not through technology, not through deliberate manipulation, but through sheer stubborn determination and an apparently infinite capacity to adapt." The displays showed a new scene. Human scientists accidentally creating a stable wormhole while trying to develop a more efficient coffee machine. Instead of panicking, they were calmly taking notes and discussing where to go for lunch. "Look at their response to impossibility," Vix-Era urged. "Where we see fundamental barriers, they see temporary inconveniences. Where we perceive limits, they see challenges. Their very consciousness refuses to accept the impossible as immutable." A council member composed of living mathematics pulsed in agitation. "The implications are staggering. If their influence continues to spread, the very fabric of reality could become unstable. Or," Vix-Era countered, "it could evolve. Just as they do. Just as everything around them does." She brought up the final set of data, showing the exponential growth of human quantum influence. Cities where probability had become more suggestion than law. Colonies on worlds that should have been uninhabitable, thriving because human presence had somehow convinced reality to make them livable. "We face a choice," Vix-Era declared. "We can continue to observe from a distance as humanity reshapes the galaxy around them, or we can engage with them directly. Learn from them. Evolve with them." The council chamber fell into deep silence. The implications were clear. Humanity wasn't just another emerging species. They were catalysts of universal evolution, unconsciously pushing the boundaries of possibility further with each passing moment. Elder Xylith's energy form pulsed thoughtfully. "And what of the risks? A species that can unconsciously alter reality itself." "With respect, Elder," Vix-Era interrupted, "I believe we're asking the wrong question. The real question isn't what humans might do to the galaxy. It's what the galaxy might become through their influence." The displays showed final images. Human children playing with quantum possibilities as naturally as breathing. Researchers accidentally discovering new laws of physics while trying to improve their entertainment systems. Artists unconsciously creating works that altered the perception of reality itself. "They're not a threat to the natural order," Vix-Era concluded. "They are the next step in the natural order. And they're taking the entire universe with them on their journey." As the council debated, the quantum sensors detected new anomalies forming around Earth. Humanity's influence was growing stronger, their unconscious manipulation of reality becoming more profound. The universe itself seemed to be holding its breath, waiting to see what these remarkable beings would do next. And in orbit above Earth, the quantum seeker's evolved systems continued to record it all. Its technology becoming something new and wonderful under the influence of humanity's impossible existence. The age of predictable physics was ending. The age of human quantum evolution had begun. The decision of the Galactic Council was unprecedented in its 10 million years of existence. After 30 cycles of intense debate, they had reached a unanimous conclusion. Humanity would not be contained, controlled, or prevented from spreading their influence. Instead, they would be welcomed as the catalysts of a new era in universal evolution. Captain Vix-Era stood on the bridge of the Quantum Seeker, now transformed by human influence into something far beyond its original design. The ship's systems had evolved to process impossible data, to understand the incomprehensible, to see the universe as humans unconsciously did. as an endless field of possibilities. "Begin transmission preparations," she ordered, her scales now capable of shifting through colors that hadn't existed before human quantum influence. "It's time to make first contact." Chief Scientist Nex, his exoskeleton now integrated with quantum crystalline structures, worked at his evolved console. "Captain, are we certain this is wise? The humans still don't even realize what they're capable of." "Perhaps that's exactly why we need to contact them now," Vixera replied, "before they accidentally reshape the entire galaxy without understanding what they're doing." The holographic displays showed the latest data from Earth. Humans had begun unconsciously synchronizing their quantum states across vast distances. Cities were developing collective consciousness fields. Children were being born with natural abilities to manipulate probability itself. Look at their progress in just the past cycle. Medical Officer Zira pulsed. Her gelatinous form now sparkled with quantum-entangled particles. They've achieved in months what took other species millions of years. The displays showed human settlements spreading across the solar system. They had somehow made Mars habitable simply by refusing to accept that it wasn't. Venus was next, its hostile atmosphere already beginning to shift under the influence of human quantum determination. Security Officer Krell, his armor now fluid and adaptive, reviewed the defense readings. They're not even using advanced technology. They're just believing things into possibility. "That's their true power," Vixera said softly. "They don't know what's impossible, so nothing is. Their consciousness refuses to accept limitations, and reality has no choice but to comply." The ship's evolved sensors detected new quantum anomalies forming around Earth. Humanity's collective unconscious was beginning to affect the fabric of space-time itself. Stars that should have been dead were continuing to burn. Physical constants were becoming less constant. The impossible was becoming routine. "Begin the approach sequence," Vixera ordered. It's time they understood what they are, what they're becoming. As the quantum seeker decloaked above Earth's atmosphere, its systems detected something remarkable. The humans had already unconsciously sensed their presence. Quantum probability fields were shifting, reality was adjusting, making first contact not just possible but inevitable. "They're ready," Nex announced, his antennae detecting quantum frequencies that shouldn't exist. "Whether they know it or not, they're ready to join the galactic community." Captain Vixera watched as humanity's quantum influence reached out to touch their ship, already beginning to adapt to the concept of alien life, already starting to evolve to meet this new challenge. "Send the message," she commanded. In every human language, across every quantum frequency they can unconsciously perceive. The message was simple. "Humanity, you have reshaped the universe. It's time you learned how." As the transmission began, reality itself seemed to hold its breath. The age of isolation was ending. The age of human-guided universal evolution was about to begin. On Earth, billions of humans looked up at the suddenly visible alien ship, their collective consciousness already starting to transform this moment into something more than it should be. They didn't know it yet, but their mere existence had changed everything. Their unconscious refusal to accept limitations had reshaped the very fabric of reality. The universe would never be the same, and that was exactly as it should be. In the quantum realm, probability itself danced with joy. The catalysts of change had finally become aware of their role. The next chapter in the story of existence was about to begin, and it would be impossible, and wonderful, and entirely, uniquely human.